reduce the voltage to something like 1 volt, because you know the resistance of the tongue is much smaller than the skin. And still, if I short the power supply, I get the same 150 amps. Okay, you can see it still sparks. Let's try it out. What the f? I thought I set it to 1 volt. Huge. Don't completely trust the gauges on your instruments, and always double check them with a meter. Hoping that at least the capacitors are not charged anymore. Let's try them out. And you can see a tiny negative sign beside it. That means that that side needs to be connected to ground or negative. It's also beneficial to zap a bare board like this one and see what happens on the actual board. Never hold the board you're zapping with your hand, because the ESD will jump to your body through the board. Always discharge a charged board before touching it. Gun here simulates a human finger. Always be careful with your tool. But right now I'm touching the wires and I can't even feel it because the voltage is not high enough. Who's this? No, I'm not Steve. Wrong number. I can feel the electricity with my finger, so I'll put it in the water. Nothing. Let's get close to the wires. Nothing. Still nothing. Oh, I'm starting to feel it here. What is this? Oh, there's a cut on this finger and the electricity can go through it much easier. You know, the flesh under the skin is much more... Die. It's a simple device. It's a belt that you tie around your belly with a tiny device that senses your motion. As long as you move, you're okay. But if you stop for any reason, it'll zap you like a mother... You will move no matter what, or else you will feel the pain. The device may often false trigger to sharp objects and it cannot be caught. Including yourself. The device is very simple. It runs on 2 AA or AAA batteries and has 2 electrodes on the bottom and turns on with a switch. Now if you don't move, it senses. If you stop moving, it senses that and will shock you. Here. In some nice packaging. With this revolutionary device, with the flick of a switch, you're ready to stay on Earth. I made this simple circuit and I'll plug it in. Now the circuit is hot and the voltages on the... Something you must never forget is that some capacitors, like electrolytic ones, are polarized and you must never connect them. Due to the shock and the pain, your body can react fast. It will contract your leg muscles and make you jump. The wires at this end are tied together in pairs, as you can see, and each pair is attached to one of these cables, which we can plug them into the wall power plug. Please join me for the first time to hear how it sounds. And 1, 2, 3, 4. It definitely made me sound like a rock star, although it feels more like an electric chair than a guitar. It is extremely dangerous to touch the 110 volt or 220 volt power lines. You can easily get killed. And believe me, nothing's worth touching a power line. Hi, replacing a light bulb is one of the simple things to do. The first thing you need to do is to remove the broken bulb. Ow! First, we have to make sure that the bulb is not too hot. Sometimes when you use a lamp for a long period of time and it goes through a lot of temperature cycles and the screw part is rusted, when you try to unscrew it from the fixture, the screw part can break off the glass part and gets stuck in the fixture. Just make sure you don't cut your fingers and take the screw part out. My finger! Good thing the breaker opened. Don't just shove your finger in an electrical socket or fixture. Always make sure it's powered down or unplugged. And even then, always use a tool, not your finger. I broke the bulb. Don't buy cheap bulbs and don't screw them too tight, otherwise they'll break. there's a switch. I guess I'll have to redo. Well, the lamp is already out, so always use a tool to get the screw part out. Unplug! Damn it! Unplug! The nuts can become quite stiff over time. Rather than using your hands and put pressure on your back, you can use your foot and put your weight on the driver, like this. These screws also get quite tight and need some good force to open. Oh my god, I just hit and released the jack accidentally and the car fell over. The wheel fell right on my shoe, but I was able to pull my foot out fast. Always make sure your jack is mounted safe and stable and secure before working on your car. Remove the lens, you'll see the giant flash capacitor back here. Ow! Piece of shit! Apparently the flash capacitor is holding around 300 volts of charge in it, and it can hurt a lot if you touch it, so I recommend you discharge this capacitor before working on the camera. Remember what those were and store them nicely to avoid losing them. Now let's take a look at the camera here. Mounted on the tail by piercing into the tail. Well, never pierce a hole towards your body. This tail is a little bit tough, so I'm going to drill a hole into it. Do not drill, pierce, cut or do anything dangerous towards your body parts. And if a quick research shows that different transformers work best at different frequencies. This transformer is obviously not made for a 60 Hz city power frequency. There is nothing. Is there actually a voltage? Well, my theory was right. Obviously there is high voltage on the secondary, but the problem is that that high voltage pulse period is so short it can create an... Wow, this is wild. You can see how far... It's a strange pain. It's as if somebody is stabbing your finger, but the blade, it doesn't stop there. It keeps going through your veins until it reaches your heart. This gap is quite wide. Let me measure it for you. Well, you know, metal is generally conductive and electrons always find the easiest path to travel. So I would never touch any high voltage with a 100-mile long metal pole. Let's look at the spark some more. The anti-pair. I just tighten these nuts here. Always be careful not to short your car battery. Now I connected these cables to the battery and all I want to do is to pass them under here. If I can just pass these cables under the table here. Always finish your wiring before connecting to your power supply. Now instead I'm going to use my power limited supply up here that will drive this pump that's made of this DC brushed motor here, and it's going to run fluid into the cylinder back here that will move it around. Now I enable the power supply. Always double check your connections. Hi, I'm done growing my Movember. My mustache made me look like a few people. One of them scared me every morning. The funny thing is that we Iranians fought this guy for 8.5 years, and now I'm him. The second guy that I look like is actually okay. I want to break free! I should remove this mustache before I die from some STD falls out. I assume they use something like a taser that zaps the hair dead, and for that purpose I'm going to use my homemade taser. Okay, let's try it out. Here I'd like to thank all women for going through so much pain to make themselves more appealing to us, and I want to say it's not necessary. Some of us may like you for your looks, but at the end of the day it's your health and attitude that makes us love you, and it's much less. Try that. I have my lighter fuel here and my fire extinguisher in case anything goes wrong. Just put a dab of this on my mustache and I'm ready to go. This is a air horn. Make yourself familiar with your tools. Let's charge the car battery with these. Now I have to wait till... Remember, to charge the battery with another, you have to connect the positive to positive and negative to negative. Otherwise, you'll short the battery. There you go. You saw what happened. Oops. Always make sure the wire gauge can handle the high current. Here that acts like a trigger. So here we go. Well, it's always wise to aim away from yourself. So let's try again. Put the bullet in. Wow! Let's try it a couple more times. Some waveforms. I connected the probe to my output lines, connected my circuit to this power bar, and now I will turn the power bar on. My fuse just blew up. Something I realized the hard way is that the ground of the probe is actually shorted to the earth of the power plug through the scope. So what? We are safe now. As you can see on the scope, the output voltage is around 170 volts. Now I like to use my 100 ohm resistor and connect it to the output to see how the waveform changes. A quick calculation shows having 170 volt across 100 ohm generates 300 watts of power. It's like having a 300 watt lamp within your fingers. It burns your skin very quickly. Now I use pliers to hold the resistor. See, the output voltage drops, but with very small ripples because there is a lot of filtering. Wow, I was holding that. I let it cool down for a while and the ceramic cortex, it's almost finished now. Just need another piece of wire. When doing something else, always put the iron down. Okay, let's power it up and see what happens. Oh, what did I do?
What the f*** did you do?
I'm fine, thanks.
Idiot.
What? Every battery has a positive and a negative contact. Never connect them backwards. Oh, and if your circuit starts smoking, unplug it quickly before anything else. I can even play music from it. Always turn the soldering iron off after you're done with it. Kind of works. It's a little bit weak though. Nothing that a strong drill battery can take care of. This baby is 12 volts compared to the two double A's that are 3 volts total. It's gonna give it the oomph that it needs. Okay, let's power it up. I better do this one quickly. I better do stupid that you will regret for the rest of your life. It's a very simple and yet effective circuit. Let's turn it on. A polarized capacitor mounted backwards is always a big no-no. Effective current. Everyone has access to the AC voltage, which is the 120 volt AC city power line. To measure the current through my body, I connect my current meter to the AC line and hold the probe on one side and only touch one of the AC lines. Well, that was a pretty bad idea. I couldn't keep steady enough to read the stupid meter. And I could have died. See, the thing is that the current meter is like a short circuit and it's not gonna isolate your body against high voltage. Well, rather than checking my own body capacitance, let's start with a real capacitor. At least real capacitors can't get electrocuted. Well, using 120 volt AC is a pretty bad idea. Don't mess with AC power. Video. Now this string is one that I couldn't fix with the lighter sparker and doesn't turn on either. Let's try the taser now. You should know better not to get too close to high voltage. Let me zap this one. There is no easy way to use this damn taser. Don't hurt yourselves. If you really want to know what electricity pain feels like, then take a 9 volt or less battery and put it on your tongue and you'll know. As I mentioned in my other video, a power supply like this one that can generate 70 amps doesn't necessarily hurt you at all if the voltage is set very low. Observe. Oh! Who the hell set this to 25 volts? And increase the frequency all the way to 60 hertz. I shock my ass sitting on these live wires. Always clean up the lab, otherwise something will bite you in the ass. Oh my god. Okay, finally, let's power it up. It's done. Let's turn it on and see how it looks like. The LED lights can be very intense and directional, so don't look into them directly as it may hurt.